Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Steve Kidd. Steve, excited to have you on the show.
So glad to be here with you. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for doing all the awesome things that you're doing. It makes it a lot easier. And of course, before we get into some of those awesome things, I wanted to read a little bit more about Steve so you can hear about some of those awesome things he's been working on. And Steve has worked with over 4,000 people to write, publish, and market their books to bestseller. His clients have included billionaires, Olympic athletes, doctors, lawyers, and world-renowned inspirational speakers. The books he has helped his clients create and market have impacted millions around the world. And Steve has run a marketing company for over 36 years and has been in internet marketing for 29 years and has been doing book marketing for 16 years. And I was reading a little bit more about Steve preparing for this. I heard that he's a third generation minister, which I thought was pretty cool. And I thought he had a really cool story about how he got started with all the awesome work that he does. He has a phenomenal radio show, which we got a little bit of a sneak peek of with all the awesome things he's doing. But I think one of the things that stuck out to me more than anything else is I don't know if you heard the book Outliers, but you have to put 10,000 hours to be great at anything. And he's put 10,000 hours plus. So Steve, excited to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am so ready. And in fact, it's actually February. So we are now officially at 37 years that I've been working in marketing. So that's cool.
I love it. Happy 37 years then.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, perfect. Well, let's celebrate from here. But I guess before we celebrate, let's rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
Well, I mean, I love telling this story because it's pretty cool. So way back when I was 5 years old, yeah, the story does go back actually that far. I'm 57 for people who want to do the math, okay? My parents had bought my older brothers. I'm the youngest of three. My parents had bought my older brothers some greeting cards and holiday napkins to sell to be able to raise some money. You know, we were pastors' kids, and you learn pretty early on that if you want to be able to afford to be a minister, you need to do other things to be able to actually have money. And my brothers went out, you know, knocking on doors, door to door and stuff like that, and very quickly discovered that they didn't really want to be salespeople. Both of them ended up working, doing cutting grass and stuff like that. And, you know, they're a little bit older than me, so they were old enough to be allowed to use lawnmowers and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but here I was, little 5-year-old. I'm like, can I sell them? You know, and I can only imagine in my mom's mind, you know, it was kind of like, yeah, sure, you know, but she packed me up a little bag of them and I went door to door. My brother was actually telling me the other day, they kept telling me, we've already gone to that house, don't bother them.
Yeah.
But, you know, I, of course, knew no boundaries. And I went up there, and of course, then I would come back out of the house with a sale where they had told them they weren't interested. The long story short, I ended up that day coming back with an empty bag and a pocket full of money. And I've really actually been in sales ever since.
Nice. I absolutely love that. I don't know if that's the persistence or the naivete or a combination of both that kind of led that to happen.
Yeah, well, and the power of cuteness. I mean,
That too.
at some point in your life, you have to actually learn sales skills because the cuteness kind of wears off, and then people really actually want you to sell to them
Yeah.
versus just being, you know, sorry for you like you do. Every time the Girl Scouts come to your door with cookies, you know, and you're hungry anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Or yeah, that's a good marketing strategy as well too, or a business model maybe is being able to have cute kids to be able to kind of sell those things too. That's an option.
Got to figure out how to adopt doing books for people in their marketing, having a, you know, a cute little kid go to
5-year-old.
businesses and stuff and be like, hi, you need to have a, I'll work
You
on that
should be a
one.
bestseller. There you go. There you go. Well, no, I absolutely love that and love how everything got started and you just kind of, you know, ran with that, I should say. And it sounds like you've been able to kind of understand like the importance of sales and marketing to just kind of build upon that. So was it like, you know, that consistency that happened throughout your life where you're always doing some type of sales or marketing and then you're like, hey, I need to go ahead and start a business?
Well, I mean, I've been self-employed literally my whole life. I mean, I was working for a sales company in high school, came out and was a sales manager by the age of 19. And it wasn't very long thereafter, you know, I mean, we're talking 1987. So I was 2 years out of high school, and I had an opportunity for one thing that people It was literally a radio station that was looking for equipment for their station, and I made some contacts. And from that, I ended up with a little shared office space, one room kind of shared office space in a company, and we've been going ever since. In one way or another, selling and marketing stuff.
Nice. I love that. I got kind of like the vibes of, I don't know if you ever seen across the interwebs the picture of Steve Jobs when he has the Amazon.com that's written on a cardboard box in like permanent marker. I got vibes of that, of like probably seeing you get started with everything.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, when you were repping products, I mean, we were talking like catalogs like this thick, I mean,
Mhm.
and you would pour through catalogs for people to be able to find, not only the thing they wanted, but also what's the best price, what's going to work. Can you use, we were doing a lot of sound equipment in those days. So, can you use an Iowa tape deck? That'll give you an idea how long ago it was
Mhm.
versus using, the Yamaha, or, what is the difference between this speaker and that speaker. And, we could get way off the rails talking about some of the things we learned over the years there. But yeah, I mean, the internet's made it a lot easier because now you could just go to that site, search the words or the product type you're looking for, and find those kind of things. It's much much easier than it was back then.
Yeah, I imagine. But one of the things I truly appreciate, I thank you so much in breaking that down, because I almost wonder, like, when you have that experience, that have seen things obviously evolve over time and over years, do you feel like those same kind of foundational elements help you to be successful, the things you've been able to do now and in the future as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember way back, I was still selling. I was a sales manager, but I had to sell every day. 19 years old. I was in South Dakota, so my territory was 2 hours in the radius. And so in other words, the whole, if you will, across of the circle was about 4 hours east and west, north and south.
Hmm.
Huge, huge area, and when we were out on the outskirts of it, we'd go way out there and stay the night or two. A lot of driving. And so I was listening to a lot of tapes, and I wanted to get better at what I was doing. And I was listening to, because the owner of the company was, I mean, he had been in business longer than I had been alive. And so all the motivational tapes he had were J. Douglas Edwards and folks like that from, pretty much the 60s and stuff. And I had never heard of any of them back then. I mean, you're talking about the people that are the mentors for the mentors of folks like Tony Robbins and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And um and the cool part about that, and the reason why I bring that up is, I was listening to those older guys back way back then. They were ancient then even.
Hmm.
And now going ahead, so if you talk 1960s to 2024, I mean, that's what, like 60 years ago. And yet the foundational parts of things, I mean, there may be some things that are different. It's easier, way easier to publish a book now than it was in 1960. But
Hmm.
when somebody told you they have a book on something, it immediately perks your ears up, and when you ask a closing question, you got to learn to shut up. Or, I mean, if you just say, "Hey, would you like to get that?" and then you just keep going on and start talking about your mom and your kids and your dog, it's real easy for the person to just go, "I might have even said yes, but thanks for distracting us." So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it really is. The more things change, the more they are the same.
Yeah, that's why I love to be able to kind of see that, because you never know about those trends. But humans are humans. The technology and all those things might change, but those habits of not being able to ask a question and just say, okay, yes or no, and just continue to talk, can sometimes prohibit you from getting to where you want to be. So, I know you touched on a little bit about one of those things that has evolved and changed, which is being able to help people to write books. And I know that's what you do. Could you take us through a little bit more on like how you do that, how you make that impact and serve the clients you work with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I love working with people who their number one objection is, I don't have the time.
Mhm.
Everything's time versus money. You could, especially these days with YouTube, you could probably spend your time and learn how to do just about anything. Now, just because you could learn how to be a doctor, please don't go out and operate on people. But, I mean, most things you could learn to do it, and you could become very, very wildly successful at it. But when you're already busy, when you're getting it done in the world, a friend of mine actually wrote a book. It's called Stop Doing What You Suck At. I
Mhm.
love the title because it's so pointed. And
Right.
and that's really the key is, so I can use something like Zoom. We all know and are used to Zoom, and I can get on with a CEO, a business leader, a thought leader, whoever that might be, and I can just get them talking and interview them and pull all of their information out of them. I mean, back in the 2007, 2008, when I was originally doing this, we would take recordings of keynote speeches and turn those into books. Now we can actually just have them talk about it and help turn that into books. And now, right now, we are beginning to get some things with AI. I will tell you, there's never going to be a time when AI is just going to take over. I've seen some of those things. You want it to still sound like you. You don't want people to read AI's book and then come to you being this keynote speaker someplace, and you're like,
Who are you?
this guy doesn't talk anything like that book. So it is important to have it in your voice, but it can come in and it can say, hey, did you consider this kind of thing? And so there's some cool stuff right now, that we're on the cusp of that are, still coming in and helping us do the same thing, but hopefully do it in an even better way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the beautiful thing of being able to kind of not do either or, but do both and better. And I think if you're able to find that combination of tools like AI or whatever technologies there might be, it provides a really great opportunity. But I really love what you said about I often forget, I often say, and people forget that we forget about the human aspect of business and how that comes out, I imagine, in the books and the things that you're saying. So being able to realize that the book is sounds like an echo of who you are. And if it's not written in a way that is an echo of who you are, then again, it just kind of creates that misalignment.
Yes, it really does. And, you want people to know, like, and trust you.
Hmm.
Basics, going back to what we were talking about before, right? One of the very key foundational parts of selling is we buy from people that we know, like, and trust.
Hmm.
So if, yeah, I mean, we've all heard you can't judge a book by its cover, but the truth of the matter is we do judge books by their cover. And so if
Hmm.
they have a picture of this, I'll use me for example. I mean, those of you that can see me, you can see that I'm a little overweight. I'm not 20.
Hmm.
All those kind of things. I have brown hair as opposed to blonde hair. If I put some, Viking god, you know, uh, I don't know, like the guy that plays Aquaman,
Yeah.
or people like that, on the cover. I mean, I mean, yeah, we'd all like to look like that, right? But and then you get to you get to the event, and out comes this guy, me. I think I'm a pretty cool person, but I'm not him. I look totally different than he does.
Hmm.
It can be really disappointing, and the same thing becomes true with your words. That's where I always kind of shy away from saying what we do is ghostwriting. I mean, I do have folks that identify themselves as ghostwriters that are on my staff, but I work really hard with them because the difference with a ghostwriter is they're going to come in and put kind of their personality into
Hmm.
the things they got from you. And what we really want to do is capture your words and bring that out onto paper. And we may need to do some things to make it literarily, grammatically good, but not too much. I'll give you a perfect example if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
There was one of the people I was working with has this amazing quote that she uses. She says, "It's how you be in this world." Okay,
Hmm.
now it's how you be in this world is not grammatically correct. If you put that into even something simple like Grammarly, it's going to flag it as not
Yeah.
being right.
All right.
Um, but it's such a powerful statement. There was another one. The lady said, "You woke up this morning enough." I mean,
Mm.
that's a powerful statement. But the one of the I think it was Grammarly or one of those like that re-edited it as "You woke up this morning and that was enough." Totally different statement. I mean, not
Hmm.
that both of those aren't good statements, but it's not what she was meaning. And so those are the kind of things that we really want to bring out to really present you to the world.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving those examples. I could definitely see the red squiggly line, like even visually, as that was probably being typed out that you always see in like Microsoft Word or Grammarly or tools like
Yeah.
that. But I love that kind of the word that came to mind was intentionality, because I think that when you are saying it in that way, a lot of times it's to break through the noise, and that becomes an essence of who you are. So why, wouldn't you have that be, echoed in, books that are created in, different publications when you're speaking, whatever it is. I think to be the essence of who you are is really what comes out. But again, I appreciate how, again, those things go in tandem, and you are able to kind of direct that. Let me ask you this. I was going to ask you a little bit more for what I call like your secret sauce. It could be for yourself, the business, or a combination of both, and makes you unique. But I almost wonder if your ability to, I'm going to use the word translate, for people, to help them to be able to showcase who they are, understand the sales part. Do you think the ability to be able to bring all those things together is part of your secret sauce?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I like to say, I don't understand why God gives each of us gifts that he does. I mean, all of us have our different gifts and talents. The
Mhm.
interview is one that I've really held on to myself because it is something that is uniquely something I can do. It's not that I can't teach you how to do an interview and get out the basic things, but there is a whole lot of intuition and empathy that comes into it when I'm interviewing a person that I can, that I can really be able to help them dive deeper into it. I love the quote. It's actually on my website. Cheryl said, finally, for the first time, I can see my voice. People have been telling me for years I need to write a book, but I never could really wrap my head around it. And now I see and understand what my voice is and what I need to say. And those are the kind of things I love bringing to the table for people.
Yeah, it's so funny that you said that, because I was actually going to ask you a little bit more around that, because I almost feel like people are sometimes so close to their zone of genius, their expertise, their knowledge, their secret sauce, even at that, that they can't even tell what their voice is. So sometimes it sounds like when you're having those conversations, you're able to say, "Oh, this is it. This is exactly what you need to highlight. This is what is going to connect." But sometimes we can't see it because we're living our life, we're working our bit, we're doing all these things and not able to kind of see the forest for the trees.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things I love helping CEOs do is write their book. Um, all too often, any of us that ever worked in corporate or with large organizations, we get handed books like Who Moved My Cheese or Think and
Mhm.
Grow Rich. And those are awesome books. I'm not in any way denigrating them. And we do that because, as a leader of an organization, we want to really establish this is the culture we have for our company. These are
Mhm.
the things that we do. This is how we treat people. I remember there was a book, oh, it was forever ago that I read it. It was called Don't Worry, Be Crappy. And it was talking about the concept that Microsoft has as a culture that they want to get things out to the market that are quote unquote
Mhm.
improvements. And then they will do, a new, fix to them
Yeah,
on and on
updates.
and on. And you know what it's like, you get Windows 11 and the first
Yeah.
version of it, you're like, and even now maybe you're still like, I don't know, it depends, you know, but, that kind of a document. And so what I love to help with CEOs is really actually creating your culture book so that
Mhm.
then when a new person comes in, you can tell them your whole story. I mean, you talked earlier about, for example, Steve Jobs and,
Mhm.
sitting there when Amazon was just a really a concept in his head.
Mhm.
Or you talk about, when he was sitting there. I remember him talking one time about, and Steve Jobs
Apple and then
would
Bezos.
be Apple, but
Yeah.
Bezos. With I remember
Yeah.
him specifically with Amazon, talking about the most amazing part of his journey in his business was when he got knee pads. Back when Amazon was packing books, right?
Yeah.
And then the coolest part ever was when the company could afford tables. He was
Yeah.
doing the company out of his garage. Those are the kind of things that when you hear him talk, you're like, oh, and then to put that in a culture statement and share that
Mhm.
journey with the folks, and then say, hey, when we talk about this is how we want to be in the world, it's because of this very real thing. And especially when you get as big as like an Amazon or an Apple is, um, it's real easy for those things to get lost across the hundreds or thousands or even millions of people worldwide.
Absolutely, and which is why it's so powerful to be able to kind of, again, for lack of a better term, package that and to be able to kind of have that be like one in, like you said, the cultural statement of what we stand for, where we came from, like all those things.
Mm.
It starts to be very symbolic, even to be able to kind of create something like that.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an Apple book or even a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
So we were actually talking about this one yesterday in a group that I'm part of. Um, this is for me. It may not work for you, and it's okay. And some of you are going to go, "Oh, that's just you know, possibly being a hoarder." Um, but one of the things I like to do, and it's not that I'm opposed to bookmarks, but when I see something that I want to follow up more on, I will open another tab for it. And a lot of people do that. But also, what I do is I will pull that tab out. So you can have multiple instances of Chrome.
Yeah.
Like right now, I probably have 15 instances of Chrome, and
Mm-hmm.
each of them then has tabs. And so I try to keep them organized. So, like, if all of them are on things that I'm researching about book marketing, just as an example, I'll keep all of those in one instance of Chrome, and then there are multiple tabs. But even then, if like, you know how you get that article and you really do want to read, I'm not talking about the one that you just kind of skim through it and then toss it aside, but you really want to go deeper with it.
Right.
Popping that tab out and then putting it as its own instance of Chrome and putting it down there is a really great way to keep that where you can get to it easily. Because if you just bookmark it, bookmarks aren't as easy as they used to be, and it's real easy, especially the more you bookmark things, the further buried it get, and then you can talk about all the things you have to do to organize your bookmarks. But with doing that, and then you can read it, and then you can just you pull up that tab, you read it, you go through it, save whatever you need to out of it, and then you can close that out. But it's a really good way to be able to keep the things that need to be present in front of you really quickly and easily at your hands. And then I also use that secondarily for the things that I know I need every day. I have those already open. So when I come to my computer, or the rare incidences that my computer gets turned off, when I turn on my computer, that's the very first things that come up is I'm going to use these different things every single day. I'm going to be on that tab once to 25,000 times a day. So I just leave it open rather than having to have to go through all the time of typing that in or finding it or finding the bookmark or any of those kind of things. That that's at least how my brain works.
Yeah, I love it. And funny enough, I feel like you're spying into my computer because I have bookmarks for days and I haven't always looked at them, but being able to kind of keep them top of mind, I love the intentionality again of that to be able to kind of have them there so you know that you can go back to it. But I love even more like really kind of reverse engineering, I guess, for lack of a better term, of what are the things that I'm gonna use on a daily basis. So even as I, first open up my computer or whatever that happens, those things end up becoming kind of top of mind. So you have them handy because you know you're already going to use them anyways.
Yes.
Nice. So, what would you consider to be a little bit more of what I like to call a CEO nugget? This could be like a word of wisdom or piece of advice, something you might tell to 5-year-old Steve, or potentially you might tell to your favorite business client.
I love the phrase. I can't take credit for it. It came from Lily Anderson, who I worked with. Lily Anderson Brown. She got married since I was working with her. um, Lily had a statement that always stuck with me. And it's this: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm,
You can get just about anybody to do just about anything in your business when they understand the why. And that starts by them knowing that you truly care about who they are as an individual. And then you take the time to explain to them why that's important, both to you as well as to the company.
yeah, I absolutely love that. I say that quote so many times because I think, again, I always say we forget about the human part of business and people really care about those things. And one of the interviews I was actually listening to with you, you were talking about like how everybody, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, or a lot of people at least, have a book that's within them, something that's special that they can share. And I love the work that you do because it supports that. Because it sounds like, and I don't get it, don't want to put words in your mouth. It sounds like it fuels a lot of what you do because you get the opportunity to help people to see themselves, as you said, one of your clients said.
Absolutely. I do absolutely believe everybody has a book, multiples, but at least a book in them. Um, and I believe that because I know that every single one of us has a purpose.
Mm,
I often tease there's nobody that was brought into this world just to keep the balance of oxygen to carbon dioxide balanced out by breathing in and out. We all do have a very unique purpose, and that needs to be shared. And I love it. I heard Lisa Nichols say this the first. She was the first one I've heard say it, and
mm,
it was like a dagger through the heart. She said, your words are not about you. They're not for
mm.
you. They're only as good as you give them away. Now, that's not to say that you can't learn things to make you a better person. But at the end of the day, us becoming a better person is only as good as we do something with it. You can be the most muscular, the most brilliant, the most whatever in whatever area person. And if you don't then do anything with it, what's the point? I mean, if you were, again, using something like muscular, if you were the strongest man in the world and you never lift anything to help somebody else, does that really do anything? And so, yes, absolutely. Everyone has a voice and a purpose, and that absolutely needs to be shared because it's that person that it's meant for that needs to hear it.
Yeah, that ends up being so powerful because I think to some degree it even becomes therapeutic to probably even go through that process because I think people don't sometimes understand or see themselves enough to be able to see themselves or see whatever they do as value. But I love that part because I truly believe that we get gifts and those gifts are given to us not to be able to hoard, to bury, to do all those things that don't allow us to be able to impact other people. So just like if you're really, really strong, but you don't use that gift for other people or to help out or whatever it is, then are you really doing and making the impact that you could end up making?
Absolutely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Steve, truly appreciate that. And of course, I wanted to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And our goal is to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, Steve, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I've been thinking about that one a lot. And the first thing that came to my mind when I very first thought about it was an old friend of mine used to always say, first level of management is learning how to manage yourself.
Mm,
Um, and it's about really being the chief executive of you. So that's kind of where it starts. But more specifically, to answer your question, that one just keeps running through my head. More specifically, to answer your question, the CEO really needs to be the person who doesn't just have a vision, but makes that vision so that it inspires other people. Because, and all too often, and I'm guilty of it too, because I'm a high creative, we have in our head these amazing things, but we don't take that other step of using that to inspire the people that are in with us to see how amazing that is and buy into what's doing. And that's, to me, that's really the heart and soul of what makes a good CEO.
yeah, I absolutely love that. I love both of those definitions and perspectives because I think so many times, especially being in a leadership role, we often can say we want people to do, X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C, but we don't often think about like how we're showcasing that or creating that example in the things that we're doing. And a lot of times, I think the quote is in order to change the world, you have to change yourself. And we often
Mm.
don't look at ourselves and see how that can impact the world, the people in our business organization, whatever it might be. It really starts out, with ourselves. But I think in very much so tied into that, that vision is a big part of that. Like, and that's why I love what you do because again, like, do you have the value of who you are, your story, where you've come from to be able to say, this is like who I am, this is my secret sauce, this is my superpower to not only help to lead yourself, but also help to lead the people that are within the organization. And I think those things all kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Steve, truly appreciate that definition. Of course, I appreciate your time even more. So, what I want to do now is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best people can get a hold of you, listen to your radio show, and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
So, of course, my radio show is called Thriving Entrepreneur. We just passed our 9 year anniversary. You can go to wehelpyouthrive.com and hear literally every episode that's ever existed, whether it's Lisa Nichols or Matthew Knowles, Beyonce's dad, or stay at home moms that are just every bit as popular. You just may not know their names. We've got lots of cool people on there. But to connect with me, the easiest thing to do is just simply go to ongoingwealthguide.com. I've got a free gift there for you. It does have included in it my hour and 10-minute Write Your Bestseller in 1 hour workshop that is part of one of those 5 steps that are in there. And what I want to do is show you that it doesn't matter what the bank account says today. If you have a system, you can always have the ability to generate the kind of wealth that really matters. And that's the kind of wealth to do the things you're meant to do in this world. And so that ongoingwealthguide.com is yours for free. And I even did something special for your folks. When they get to the thank you page of that, there's a little link there, and you can actually book to have 15 free minutes to talk to me about anything you want to in your marketing or your book or any of those kind of things.
Nice. I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Steve. We're going to have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can click through, listen to your radio show, of course, be able to kind of take advantage of all the things you've been so kind in terms of giving away. So thank you so much for, all the awesome things that you're doing. I often say stories take the cake. And I love that you're able to find those stories, listen to those stories, be able to help people to share those stories so that we just continue to make the world a better place. So thank you so much for your time, my friend. I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thanks for having me.